The Catholic Lab podcast is about to begin. If listening to the truth makes you throw up, kindly switch to another podcast. But if you would not mind what the truth will do to you, sit back then with a glass of wine and let's journey together.
Hello there, listeners. Welcome again to another episode of the Catholic Lab podcast. This time around, we are starting a series. For the very first time, we're having a series of talks between myself and a friend of mine, Abayomi, and it's on a very interesting topic. We might have even additional guests even to talk about this. And what we're talking about sins and virtues. And in particular, what we refer to as the 7 deadly sins or the 7 capital sins. That is what we want to look at as fellow sinners. Let's look at the individual struggle we have and also what we have to share about it. How is the battlefield like on our own end? What do we have to share? How is it like on your own end as well? You can feel free to share that with us also on our social media platforms. Aquinas Abayomi, welcome again to the Catholic Lab. I'm sure you've been here before, right?
Yeah, I've been here.
Okay. So quickly introduce yourself in about 30 seconds. Let them know who you are.
Good evening, listeners. My name is Abayomi Emmanuel Akini. So I'm a lover of God. I'm also an engineer by profession. Okay. And I'm glad and delighted to be here to speak about this topic we'll be sharing with us this evening. So thank you for having me once again.
Okay, thank you very much, Abayomi, for that quick introduction. So we're talking about the 7 deadly sins. We'll just run through, just a summary of it. What are the deadly sins? Why are they called deadly? Why are they called capital? We'll find out in different contexts. Why are they so important for us in our day and time? Can you just run us through that briefly?
Okay. So the capital sins, as we have them, they are called capital because they are like hinge. When we talk about hinge, that is something that anchor something. So they are called capital because that is like the basis for every other sin that we can talk about.
Okay. I like
capital
that.
In the sense that capital, when we talk about capital sins, so they are the foundation for all other sins. And every other sin that we have, we can find their roots in these capital sins. So that's why they are called capital.
Okay. So permit me to run through them briefly. We have pride. Okay. So now let's start with the vices now, or the sins. We have pride, we have greed, lust, envy, gluttony, anger, and then sloth. Then for the vices that correspond to each of them, we have humility, charity, chastity, kindness, temperance, patience, and diligence. So now to start with on our podcast today, we'll be talking about one of the vices and also one of the virtues. So let's look at pride and humility. So how do we understand this particular vice of pride? I'm sure many of us are very familiar with the vice of pride because all it needs for us to do is just to look into the mirror and then we'll meet a prideful person or someone who battles with pride. And if we're going to be faithful to ourselves, I'm sure we're falling into that sin or we'll continue to fall into the sin of pride a lot of times. Even in the day, a lot of times in the week, in our relationship, in our conversation with our friends, even the battle that even goes on in our mind. Sometimes, when we talk about pride, it's not so much in the action itself. It has to do with what has gone in the mind even before we act something else. So when we go for confession, for example, we don't say to the priest that, I've committed the sin of pride. The question will be, okay, what did you do? How did that pride play out in your life? What did you say to somebody? Like, that will be the follow-up questions that the priest might ask us at the confessional. So now, Abayomi, can you lead us into an introduction on pride? What is it? Why is it dangerous for us? Because that will be how we'll be structuring our conversation. We'll look at what is this sin itself? How does it disguise ourselves around us today? What do we learn from the saints? And what are the hidden roots? Then we'll look at the concrete virtues that help us to overcome them. So that's why we're starting with pride. So what is pride? What do you have for us today?
Yeah, thank you very much. Before I delve into the definition of pride, or before I dabble into talking about pride, I will first of all like us to look at what vice is actually, and also what virtue is.
Okay.
Before we spoke about the capital, like, okay, why are they called capital sins? But then when we talk about the vice and the virtue, what is the definition of that? Then first and foremost, when we say what is a vice, we say a vice is a bad habit or moral flaw that harms your character. So that is the vice. That is, we talk about a particular trait, a particular action, a particular mindset of yours that makes your character to be flawed in a way. So it harms it. That's why they are called vice. They are called vices, because when we talk of vice, it harms your character. And when we talk about virtue, virtue is about what? Disposition towards doing good. So that means there is a set of trait also that forms your character holistically. So one forms character, the other one harms character. And everything about ourselves, everything about our being also encompasses what we call character, because that is what actually show what we are and who we are. So now when we talk about pride, pride is one of the 7 capital sins, as we have. It is what? The excessive love of oneself.
Excessive love of oneself.
Me to say.
Okay.
Yeah. So permit me to say something. You mentioned when we were starting, you mentioned something about the battlefield. Everything. The Bible says, out of the heart of man comes what? Good and evil. That is, whatever thing you want to do first comes from the heart or the mind, as the case may be. So it now made me to remember a book, The Battlefield of the Mind, that I once read by, and it actually explains, what are the things that really happen in our mind. So whatever thing we want to do, these are things that we first conceive in our mind before we now carry out the action. So pride is what? The excessive love of oneself. That is where you think, you are better than others. That is where you do not care about what actually happens to the other person. In as much as you are feeling good, in as much as you are feeling okay, you are comfortable to help with the other person. So it is actually that particular, the thing that you do without considering others, without considering the fact that all that you are and all that you have come from God. So that is what pride is all about. You are all in all. So I think I've spoken briefly on what pride
is. Thank you very much for that. At the beginning of the podcast, I mentioned something about the mirror. Many of us have looked at the mirror at one point or the other. But the mirror I'm talking about is not the one hanging on the wall now. So it's the one that appears after we've had an argument with somebody. So possibly someone corrected us about something at work or in our personal life. Or when somebody else succeeds around us, or we are ignored maybe by our partner for a while, or somebody doesn't applaud our sacrifice that we made, either for the relationship or for the work or for the projects we just accomplished. that mirror is very uncomfortable. We see ourselves in a different light. It doesn't simply show like what we did, it also begins to reveal who we are becoming. Oh, I felt bad after this person told me about this good thing that happened in them. So imagine that we also walked into a particular hospital, and then we have various patients in the hospital. I'm sure many of us that have visited hospital will definitely have the experience of this, even on the hallway. You see different persons with different kind of illnesses. Some cancer, some heart problem, pneumonia, diabetes. Some the sickness they are having is physically evident, some not physically evident. So it means they all have various symptoms on their body. But imagine that all these various illnesses, it came from just one single infected person or the source. Are we going to say that let us keep treating the source, or we are going to say let us continue to treat that particular source rather than just treat the various individual symptoms that people are having? No, we'll say let us not just go for the symptoms, let us heal this source, so that by the time we heal the source, then every other symptom that we continue to find in other persons disappears over time. So that is how I found pride discussed, that it is when the soul also claims ownership of what is ultimately God's gift. Claiming ownership for what is ultimately God's gift. So, how would you say that humility helps us to counteract this vice of pride as a capital sin?
Okay. Yeah, when we talk about humility counteracting pride, which is a capital sin. Yeah, permit me to also still digress to a little bit.
We are permitted.
You made mention of the pride being the source. Yeah, it's absolutely correct, because when we say pride actually is the king of all other vices. Is the king of all other vices. When we say capital sin, so pride is like the capital of capitals, if there is a word like that. Capital of capitals, because pride is the root of all other vices. It is when you are proud that you give room to all other things. You think, okay, you are, like you said, you are all in all. So definitely everything you do, it's permitted. Everything you do is permitted, because the pride lives in such an in the life of such an individual. So that's why I say pride actually is the king. And when we talk about humility, humility from the word humus is recognizing the fact that, okay, all you have and all you have come from God, that you cannot exist outside God. Whatever it is that we have comes from God. Humility is what? Being down to the earth, from the word humus, which is soil.
Okay.
That is being down to the earth. So humility makes you to live your life in a way that you give glory to God. Humility makes you to live a life of gratitude. Humility gives you to live a life that is an exemplary one. And when you are humble, it takes away that pride. It takes away that what should I use now? It takes away that trait, that harmful trait in you, because you think twice before you do things. You think twice before you take glory for yourself. You think twice before you ignore the other person, because you are very much aware that all that you have, all that you have become comes from God. Even in your marriage, in your possession, in your career, everything that you have, you know that, okay, they are not the end in themselves, but rather a means to an end, which is God. God is the ultimate end of everything that you have in life. So whenever you humble heart acknowledges that fact that, okay, this is the place I belong to, and this is the place of God in my life. And even the Beatitudes say, blessed are the humble.
Yes.
Oh, can you read that for me? Blessed are the humble, for they shall see God. Or the humble of heart. The humble of heart, they would always be in connection with God. So that is just all about humility. The whole essence of human life should be about humility. So that's what I would say.
Thank you very much, Abayomi, for that. It brings my mind to a particular analogy. Imagine that you were at your place of work. For those who are in the corporate space, where maybe you can go to a particular vending machine and then maybe make your coffee or something. So imagine you are standing there and then somebody knocks you, maybe just bust into someone unknowingly while having your cup of coffee in your hand. Most likely what is going to spill to the ground is going to also be a cup of coffee. But imagine that inside that cup of yours, what you had there was water. It also means that when that person knocks you over, even though unknowingly at that moment, what is going to spill out of your cup is also going to be water. So the question is, when we bring it to what we are discussing, many a times the things that happen in our life are not just, our reactions to them are not just external. Our reaction to these external events that happen are based on what we already have in us. So when a particular pressure comes up in our life, what happens? What is our reaction to it? That pressure only reveals what we have inside us. So it is now what we ask ourselves, when a particular action happens, or a particular pressure at work, or somebody says something, or something happens in my life, what spills from me? Is it humility or is it pride? So now we've found the explanation on today's episode about what pride is, and we've also looked at humility as well. So Abayomi will still go deep into what these two aspects is, but permits me to read something from a particular book that I have, which I have been reading. Like I came across the book, I think, when I was in the university. It's titled The Imitation of Christ. I took it from my dad's library. I'm not sure if I told him anyway. Daddy, forgive me because now he's dead. So, but reading this book, it has actually transformed me in a lot of ways than I even imagined. I'll read from, it has multiple, there's book 1 to 4, and each book has chapters. So now I'll read from book 2, and the title of book 2 is On Having a Humble Opinion About Yourself. So I'll just read certain snippet from it. I think it speaks more to humility than to pride, but we know both are united together and actually contrary. So let's look at it together. I'll just read some snippets here. Everyone naturally wishes to have knowledge, but what good is great learning unless it is accompanied by a feeling of deep awe and profound reverence towards God? Indeed, a humble farmer who serves God is better than a proud philosopher who, neglecting himself, contemplates the course of the heavens. The person who truly knows himself seems common in his own eyes, and the good things that the others may say about him do not change the way he thinks about himself. If I knew everything in the world and did not have love, what good would it do to me before God, who will judge me by what I have done? Calm the excessive thirst for knowledge, for there is great discord and deception in it. People who have great learning are often eager to appear wise, and they often wish others to recognize them as wise people. Now we can see where that pride is coming in there, where they are trying to also make sure and wish that others also recognize their wisdom. There are many things that you can know about, though they are of little or no use to your soul. And a person is exceedingly foolish who reaches for anything that does not lead towards salvation. There are many more things I can read here, but I'll just stop here. So it shows how even our craving for knowledge can become excessive and prideful. What is my reason for learning? Is it for my salvation? Is it for the edification of others? Or is it just so that people can know that I know? And so that people can raise me up there. So this is just an aspect of our life. And then we can always relate this to various parts of our lives individually. Let me also define, according to St. Augustine, how he defined pride. He said something about pride. He said, it is pride that changed the angels into devils, and it is humility that makes men as angels. We always refer to pride as even the sin of the angels. Even long before man committed the sin, the angels committed the sin of pride. That first thought that, oh, I can be like God. I can take for myself what is not mine, what is ultimately God. So, Abayomi, what else do you have for us on this topic of pride and humility, and how to implement this in our daily lives? How do we ensure that in our interaction, when these tendencies to pride comes, how do we remain humble in our interactions with our brothers and sisters, in our relationship? For those married, for those not married, what will be the hints or tips that you have for us here?
Okay. So first and foremost, let me also, I have some quotes here by Saint Vincent de Paul. And the first one is that humility is nothing but truth, and pride is nothing but lying. Humility is nothing but truth, and pride is nothing but lying. Another quote of his is that the most powerful weapon to conquer the devil is humility. The most powerful weapon to conquer the devil is humility. Because humility, when you are humble, you accept the kind of person that you are. You accept being. It is only a humble person that knows that, okay, I can fall at any time. And it is easier for someone who knows he can fall and maybe eventually falls. It is easier for that person to rise again. But it is only the person who thinks the world revolves around him or her and he or she cannot fall. Maybe eventually when they fall, it becomes so difficult for them to rise again.
Get off.
That is what pride does. But a humble person knows that, okay, human being is prone to fall. Definitely when he falls, then he can always rise again. And that Satan fears and trembles before humble souls. Like, anyway, Satan, the way Satan works is that it first and foremost is, if you look at the Old Testament in the book of Genesis, Eve was tempted, right?
Yeah.
And when we talk about pride, we can see the element of pride in the deception of Eve by the Satan. The first thing Satan told her was like, okay, who is this God? You will be equal with God, because God does not want you to be equal with him. That is why he did this to you. But if you eat of this fruit, you and God will be, you'll be equal. The pride, not accepting the place of God and the place of man, but you think, okay, you are in equality with God. That is what really, that is the fall of man, the account of the fall of man. Aside the disobedience, pride also was part of it. And that is it about that's the difference between someone who is proud and someone who is humble. You accept the fact that, okay, God will always be God and human will always be human. For a marriage, it is only a proud wife and a proud husband.
Yeah.
You know, when it just takes two proud people to come together, and you will not have a blissful marriage.
Two proud
when you
persons.
have two proud persons coming together, there is no way you can have a successful marriage, because but one is not, there is no humble person in the marriage. So everyone is right at all times. It is only two people that are proud that will not have the place of God in their marriage. That's why in marriage itself is a journey, and it takes two people that are humble to succeed in that journey. It is when we are recognize that, okay, we are not perfect. It is when you are humble that you recognize the imperfection of the individuals that are into that
union.
Into that union, rather, or as the case may be. So pride goes before the fall, and there is no way that you are proud that in everything you are, even if temporarily you are succeeding, but definitely be rest assured that fall is coming afterwards, because it's one thing. It takes years for a proud person to build something, and it takes just few days for those things he has built in years to collapse because of his proud nature. So even as in relationships, in our work, I read something times ago, like even in the place of work. So there are two people now. I think I read it on X, and it's just about two people now. So two core members, as we have it in Nigeria. After you are done with your university, you go for youth service. So these are two core members that were accepted in a company. One knows, at the end of at the end of their service year, so the manager wanted to retain one out of the two persons. So one out of them has actually learned what she needed to be retained as a staff of that staff of that company. The other one was still learning, like she is not as the first one, but the first one who knows everything was proud. This is someone that raises shoulder to everybody. This is someone that he does not recognize the fact that, okay, she's not perfect and people are not perfect, and okay, whatever my dealings with them should be, I should also still be humble in my dealings. And this other person, she does not know much, but she's humble, she's respectful. They are just intense. And the manager now went to those people that they are working together. Okay, I want to retain one out of these two people. Then who do you suggest? Out of 10 people, 8 persons actually wanted this.
Hello, by me. We lost you for a bit. Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Okay, we lost Abayomi there for a bit. We apologize for that. Oh,
hello.
Yes, you're back now. You're back.
So, So they now asked 8 persons, and 8 people were willing to train this second person, who is not as sound as the first person, because of her humility. So the first person who even knows what she needed to do, and mind you, like I said, these are that are just, let me say, still learning. Because I'm very sure that in 1 year you cannot know everything in an organization.
Definitely.
So this is not just, we are not belittling, okay, that skills also matters when it comes to maybe retaining an employee, but I'm just saying that character first, and that is about humility, character. So in our workplaces, in our marriages, everything, humility actually is key to whatever thing we want to be in life. So is it in friendship as well? It takes two friends to recognize that, okay, we are not perfect beings. Then we accept each other's shortcomings. So we can go on and on and on. But what we are saying is that, pride goes before a fall. That is as seen in the scripture. Even in the story of the rich man in the Bible too, okay, he has forgotten the place of God. Okay, I can eat, I can drink, I'll store this, I will do that, I will do this, a proud act. So a proud heart does not really have a place for God. And God told him, "You foolish man, this night I will take your soul." So, but when you are humble, you are able to deal diligently in all aspects of life. You are able to be successful. You are able to succeed in every aspect of life, because an humble person is always winning against devil. An humble person is always overcoming whatever situation that comes his way. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Abayomi, for that. The passage that comes to mind here is James 4:6. God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. And we'll find that in that story that we just narrated. And I think even in our social media space or in public sphere now, we have pride also showing itself in various ways. Oh, you hear things like, "Oh, I already know this. Oh, I don't need your advice. No one understands me. I'll forgive, but I will never forget. I'll pray, but on my own terms. I will decide. I'm the one to decide what is right. Nobody should tell me what is right." And then you find it again, even in the religious sphere, things like, "Oh, I don't need the church," or "Oh, I'll follow Jesus, not religion." We find when you put yourself in the position of "I am the one to decide," it reduces your willingness to even listen or learn or get suggestions even from others. So let this podcast just be, I think, in our own life, let us also introspect. For myself as Richard Oeleke, something happened, I think yesterday, while I was preparing for this podcast, at least over the past couple of days. I sent a little cousin of mine, I think about 18 years, to get my mom a particular device and then go deliver it. So on my own terms, I told him, "Okay, go buy this thing, then deliver it to the house." And he was like, "Oh, he has heard me." He bought it, went back to his shop or where he's learning. And then I called him, "Have you gotten home?" He said, "No, that he's not able to take permission." But I said, "The man gave you permission to go and buy this thing. He should also give you 5 minutes to just deliver it in the house. I don't want you holding this thing with you." And he's like, "Okay, no problem, I will do it." And then he didn't do it. And then an hour or 2 hours after that, I called again. "Have you delivered it to my mom?" He said, "Oh no, he's going for a program. After the program, he would go and deliver it." I was boiling, but because of distance, there's nothing I could do. So I kept asking myself, sorry, that's thunderstorm, I don't know if you could hear it from the podcast. I kept asking myself, is it my pride? Or is this guy just outrightly just instigating me? Or is God also trying to teach me something from here? And then he didn't do as I asked him to do. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm way older than you. I'm way more experienced than you. I'm telling you to do something, and then you are not doing it." And then it kept welling up this kind of anger in me. And then apart from the anger, the fact that, oh, I am this better than you. You are so young. I started. So at that point, even preparing for the podcast, I'm like, Richard, this is exactly what we are talking about. I'm not saying that there's no problem on this other side, but What are the thoughts that are coming to your head as this problem was happening from this other side? Are you extending as much patience to him, of maybe his mood or what is happening to him at that moment, or other things? Let's just be willing at every moment, as we look at the bad in others or try to correct others, let's also look inwardly at ourselves first. It will help us to more patiently, more humbly even accept the wrongs of others. And I pray that as we journey in life, we would be able to live more humble lives and eliminate pride from our lives. Thank you so much, Aboyomi, for being here. On our next episode, we'll be talking about greed and charity or generosity. So I'm sure we would also prepare well for that, and God will direct our discussion. Thank you all, dear listeners, for listening to this episode of the Catholic Lab Podcast. If you learned one thing or the other, please do well to share. Thank you so much, and I wish you a lovely day ahead. God bless you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Abayomi.
Bye.
Do have a lovely evening.